Back with another episode of Circle of Trades. I'm Todd Studer, and in the virtual studio, we have Travis Waldstein, Aire, Serv Heating and Air Conditioning, and Waldstein Plumbing, and it's family day today, right, Travis?
Oh yeah, it's something like that. So it's kind of like having my wife here, but not my wife here. It's like my work wife, So they just happen to be sisters. So, so you can read into that whatever you want. So.
Well, and the other thing about this, too, is that, by the way, Jane, thank you very much for being a part of the show today. And you are not even in the shop. Nope. I mean, this is, you get the privilege or the curse, I'm not sure which it is, of working remotely.
I have worked remotely for 10 years. So yeah. I was working remotely before COVID. So.
Yes. She was.
When COVID happened, everybody's like, how do I do this? Because you've been doing it for a long time.
You're right. She was, no doubt about it. So,
and of course, part of the privilege of being able to work remotely is you still get to work with Travis. Mm-hmm. And, we know that how stress-free that can be.
Whatever you think.
That is not the first word that comes to my mind, and I'm Travis. I'd say more pain in the butt, but that's all right. So,
what do you think, Travis? Why you had something in mind by bringing Jane on, and I'm sure it wasn't family abuse. So, what topics did we want to talk about today?
That might have been a hidden agenda.
Well, yeah, I would never have a hidden agenda. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So, so it's like my wife's never has a hidden agenda for me too. So, honestly, you know what? We got Samantha on this week. We got Manny on this week. It's like, we haven't had Jane on for a long time. I said, you know what? We need to have the girls that are answering their phones on just to talk a little bit. Jane's been with me for a long time. So, she is work remote. She works up, like I said, she lives between Spencer and Dickens, Iowa. And for those of you on a map that don't know where Dickens, Iowa is, it's out in the middle of freaking nowhere. So, but no, she's worked for me for 10 years. Known me a hell of a lot longer than that because I'm married to her sister. I'm just the smarter, better looking of the two husbands, but I digress, So, so I'll throw that out there. I'm sure I'll get daggers later for that comment, but no, I've decided to have her on, talk about what she does a little bit. A lot of customers know her. A lot of customers have wanted to come in and see her, but then when they find out she's in Spencer, I was like, well, I guess we can't do it. So now, unlike me, who has a face for radio, now you can see her firsthand, and we can talk about a little bit about what she does, how her role has changed, and just talk about life in general.
Jane, do you think it's harder or easier? And leave the jokes about Travis out of it. Just from a professional standpoint, with what it is that you do, is it harder or easier working remotely and not being in the shop where everything is taking place?
It's a twofold. There's days and times that it's great because I don't have the floor traffic coming through, the interruptions at my desk and different things like that. But yet there's times when it's needed to be in the office because I do come down there and work from the office. So sometimes I come down and work half a week or a full week, couple days. And sometimes it's nice because I can have a better contact with the technicians. But with today's technology, we use Google a lot, and we use Google Chat, and that is fabulous because I can either type it to them or I can get on a Zoom meeting with them and talk to them about issues, problems, things happening in the office. So there's that part of it. It can be difficult as far as like they'll want to know if something's in the office or that, and unfortunately I can't help them. Now that the staff is bigger, you got to remember when I started with Travis, it was me, Travis, Kelly, a helper, and one service tech.
It was about third the size of what we are now.
Very tiny. So, that was the downside of working remotely is if Kelly would call and say, "Is there this at the shop?" If Travis wasn't there, there was nobody to go look or to answer the door or have someone stop and drop off a payment or pick up a filter or whatever. There wasn't that availability. Now that the size of the shop has grown and we have people in the shop every day and I have helpers, that has made it available to the customer and a lot friendlier, I guess, for them.
How about just from the vantage point of your office is in your home and being able to feel like you've reached the end of your day and to be able to disconnect, because we all know that's just as important as being connected to the job. You need downtime too. So how have you managed that with having a home office?
Everybody thinks it's easy because you work from home, you can work in your pajamas. I don't do that. I get up, I get showered, I get dressed just like I'm going to a regular job. Put my hair up, put my makeup on, because that is my time to get focused on starting my day. If I roll out of bed, you're not ready to start your day. And so I want to get ready, so to speak, to face my day. Um, Downside is I do not walk away from my job. Um, I am usually in the office really long days, or the guys, if they get called in and they have to go into a thing on a Saturday or an evening and they can't figure out something in Service Titan, they might text me and I'm like, just a minute, let me go log in. So I don't walk away from my job very much, but it's okay. That's me, and Travis knows that's me. It didn't matter when I worked in the grocery store and wine and spirits as an assistant manager or anything I've ever done. I never stopped doing my job.
I think that well, Travis may have had other ideas of questions that he wanted you to talk about, but see, I work from a home studio too. So by asking these questions, I'm actually looking for advice.
You're playing both sides of this here.
Exactly,
so.
Because I know for me, it's difficult to feel like I have downtime. And it sounds like what you're saying is you've just made peace with the fact that you're not going to have that.
Pretty much. And some people, my daughter-in-law works from home, and she has her timer, and when she shuts off her end of her day, she clocks out at 5 o'clock, just like if she was in an office, and shuts down. I don't shut down my computer. That's just not me. I'm, and maybe so because I take it to heart, it's my family's business and I want it to succeed. And so I'm going to answer the phones and do whatever needs to happen. I keep track of Travis's calendar. I keep track of Hayden's calendar, his son. I keep track of my sister.
Well, see how that works with still working, even while we're going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She forgot to put her D&D on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. I'm not good about that.
Well, it's
I
all
keep
right.
track of Hayden's wife's schedule because she's a nurse, just so that we know if Hayden has to leave to take care of my nephews. So I manage, not only do I manage the office and the technicians and the staff, but I try to keep Travis and Hayden coordinated and Amy and Erica's schedules coordinated and knowing where everybody's at for them too.
Yeah, if it's not on my Google Calendar, it's not happening at this point. And it's like, I need a reminder an hour before, because if I don't have it, did you put it on Google Calendar? Nope. Well, guess what? It did not happen. An emergency, something on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. So that's how that and that's not always a pleasant conversation either. It's usually a one-way conversation. So,
and I do have a tidbit of people like to call Travis or text Travis and say, I need this service. I need to schedule this. Don't call Travis. Call the office and schedule with us girls, because he might remember it 2 days later or a week later because he's got 100 other things happening in his world between the plumbing side and the HVAC side that he can't remember everything that's happening.
You know what? There's this thing called, it's not star 6 7. I think it's star 6 8. It's a call forwarding feature. So, you could have calls forwarded to it. And I've had them forwarded to the office before. And nothing pisses my wife off worse when she's trying to call me and then she's talking to her sister and goes, "Why am I talking to you?" "Well, Travis is not answering his phone right now." I would never do such a thing. So I haven't done it in a while. So, but
Jane, you brought up an interesting point about this being a family business and you being a part of the family. What's it been like for you watching the growth? Because as you said earlier, where Travis was at, one tech, one person in the office, and Travis, and now it's a little bit different. And there's a lot more moving parts with this. So what's it been like for you watching things progress and advance in the business?
I love it. I think it's great. There's been a lot of growing pains, and we just ask the customers to bear with us because we've had software updates and that has changed. And so sometimes things get lost in the software. Just trying to develop a better communication. When I'm directing 4 service technicians out in the field and 2 install teams, that makes a difference of who's going where and making sure we're all moving and getting that information passed to the right counterpart. If that customer calls in and I have installed A team out there and not B team, I need to make sure that those messages get to the right person about the things, or the technicians telling us, obviously when I had just one technician going to houses, there was only 4 or 5 customers a day to keep track of. With 4 technicians going, now you have 20 customers that we're going to a day. So trying to make sure that they relay back that message that I didn't have the filters, we need to get them dropped off, or this part needs to get ordered, or put them on hold because we're waiting for parts to come in, and making sure that the 3 of us scheduling are on that same page.
Well, a lot of folks that are listening or watching this may think that, Jane is Travis's sister-in-law, so obviously she has a lot of job security. Here's what, Travis, I know about you. That, Jane, if you weren't good at your job, you wouldn't still have it. But yet you've been doing it for over 10 years. So, Travis, it's but it's an extra added piece of trust that you have there, knowing that you have somebody that qualified and that skilled in this position, and is also a member of your family. So you got to get a little bit of a feeling of everything is just the way that you want it to be.
Well, it does. And don't worry, we have our moments. We have one-way conversations, and then, and then sometimes I'll have, "Travis, you're freaking wrong" conversations. I'm not wrong. What are you talking about? So, it happens. Jane gets her butt chewed once in a while. Not, I mean, with this business, sometimes what are perceived butt chewings are kind of what the situation is at the moment. You have them customers that, just make you pull your hair out, or maybe because the technician was out there doesn't deal well with either confrontation or pushback. And so sometimes, that's when I'll get involved, or I don't, I have certain expectations. We had a meeting this morning about that, about, expectations of what my expectations are. And, realistically, not everybody's going to meet my expectations, if you know what I'm saying. So, if you're not meeting these certain expectations, it's a problem. I've never had an issue with Jane as far as that goes. So, I mean, she, like I said, she's vested with the business at this point. Like I said, last summer we were doing work for the floods up in Northwest Iowa, up around Spencer area when they had the floods, and we worked out of her shed and we had her camper parked up there, and we were up there for 3 months. So so we got the remote location, and for that time. And now we've had people that, we've had a company come by and says, well, you guys going to open a shop in Spencer? And I says, well, here's the deal. That takes time and resources. We're still in the process of implementing a plumbing business, let alone look at doing something, remote location, if you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of, with what we're doing. So that becomes a, so that's actually worked out pretty well. We do some stuff up there too. So I mean, it's it. Like I said, with what she does, her role is dynamic, and it's changed now too, because she used to be the number one person as answering the phones on the HVAC side. Then we took on the plumbing side, and what we've done with her role, actually, because she's great with customers. That's not why we changed her, but we've hired someone on the plumbing side and then someone on the HVAC side that we want to be able to answer calls and schedule, and now Jane's job is more to, to be the backup and coordinate and schedule, where she can kind of take a look at both sides and help manage from a, since she's got the years experience. She still answers phones, don't get me wrong, but there's times to where we need her to be looking at the board and seeing what's going on, allow her to, dodge the bullets a little bit per se, especially right now, this time of year, but to be able to coordinate and making sure that stuff is getting done. And I think that's changed in the last couple months for her a little bit. So, but I think it's a role that's worked really well. And of course, with that more responsibility, and like I said, she has the only way she told me she'd quit is if I go back to doing home warranty, and I've got zero interest in going back to doing home warranty. So,
No home warranty.
so Brandon Bushy, if you're listening, all I'm going to tell you is it's not freaking happening. So, no interest in home warranty.
Not home warranty. The poor customers get hosed by the home warranty companies, and it's just something it's heartbreaking when you have a young couple with a new baby and they have home warranty, and the home warranty company, it's minus 40 out. They have no heat in their house, and the home warranty will not let us go get a furnace to put in. They want to send it to us. And so that's 4 or 5 days out coming from them. And then just the rigmarole, the billing, they deny that. They're like, oh, you aren't putting stuff in, you aren't giving us invoices. They drag it out 120 days to pay us, and they're continuously, and it's like, no, I put that in, it's already there, you got pictures. But they drag their feet, and that is not fair to a young couple with a baby to have no heat at minus 40 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and that was happening all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And yeah, it's just the headache, the paperwork, and just, yeah, not fun. So, but we got other stuff we could do. Home warranty, just, I mean, I understand why people do it, but it's just, unfortunately, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, in my opinion. But, there's other people that can feel that way. That's fine. But yeah, there's lots of other stuff that's out there. So, we've got a lot of stuff, and frankly, we got a lot of stuff going on right now that, that's the least of my worries. Plus with her, with Jane, like I said, the plumbing side's really taking off, lots of stuff going on there. And just, we're now in the busy time, where things are finally running, things are breaking, that, it's that time of year. So we're doing repairs, we're doing replacements, it finally feels like summer, kind of. Well, this morning is not terrible, but it's kind of this week, and obviously it has. So that's where the years of, Jane's been through the wars of, the first hot day, and everybody in Council Bluffs or Southwest Iowa calls because their AC's broke, because that's what happens. So, am I right, Jane? That happens, doesn't it?
I had 25 to 35 phone calls in like 2 hours here a while back when it broke, and people won't call for 4 or 5 days for the furnace, but the AC goes out. My phone's going off at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I get the same text messages that the on-call technician gets. So I get all of them. And So I kind of know, oh, I better look at the schedule before my day starts. And I had a customer yesterday that was upset that I hadn't called him yet. Well, between the incoming calls coming in and the 30 some calls that I had from the day before, I wasn't to that point of getting down. His name was getting close on the list, but I wasn't quite there. And, so I'm sorry I didn't call you at 7:30 in the morning, but
Mm-hmm.
you were number 25 on my list
Mm-hmm.
that I was following up, and I go in the order of how they came in.
Mm-hmm. And we got 4 gals working now too. Where last year we only, well, one really, because Jane was off. I mean, she had surgery last year at this time, so she was off from now till 1st of September. She tried to die twice, but we won't talk about that. So, um, but now we got 4 people in here. So, and then plus we have Evoke AI, which helps answer our phones too in the backside, which I know people bitch it's AI, but your other option is sit on hold for 15 minutes, wait for an answering service, which nobody wants to do. So just leave a name and a phone number and say, hey, call me back. And, you ain't got to reinvent the wheel on this whole thing. Just, so we're trying to make it easier for customers to do business with us, give them factors, but there's still limits. I can't hire 40 people for 2 days, and then that just doesn't work in this world. You have to train them, you have to keep them employed, and we got plenty of stuff. It's not scheduling. We got permits we got to deal with. We got job files we got to deal with. We got follow ups that these guys got to deal with. They got to make sure I'm getting estimates or there's a lot of stuff involved with their position. They're not just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring all day. There's plenty of stuff to do for you gals in the day. Am I correct or am I not correct in that,
Oh
Jane?
yeah, I probably start about, technically the phones ring at 7:30. I am generally in my office by 6:15, 6:30,
Mm-hmm.
looking at the day, figuring out what's going on, figuring out who needs to be going where, if I need to adjust the schedule, who can we move, especially on those busy days, who who do we need to go to, have to get to, and who is willing to move it around and have us come to a maintenance because theirs is working. Because if it was them that was not working, they would like to have that
Mm-hmm.
come back
And,
to them.
and unfortunately, that's the balance you kind of run into. People on the schedule, and we want to get them done. We start schedule maintenance at the end of March, 1st of April, and we spend a better part of a month, Jane. I mean, where we can get people to call us back. It's the time we can get you in, get you done. But I'll wait, I'll wait. It's like, no, really. If you're smart about it, if we're calling in March and we're saying or for early part of April, we want to get it done, let's get it done now because I mean we try. I mean we got darn near 1,000 maintenance customers. Last time I heard it was over 900, and so there's a lot of maintenance customers we have to get a hold of. And so when we don't get calls and we have to schedule and we call 2 or 3 times and people don't return and then they call in the middle of July, well, you didn't come in maintenance. Well, we called you here, 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 and here. I mean, we send you a postcard, we do this. That's probably the hardest part of your job. Is
Yep.
when you don't, they've paid for the service and you can't get people to return the calls. So, and then they're mad when they do have a problem. It's like, well, we're trying to be proactive, but things happen. I get it. People get busy, but we really try hard to make sure our maintenance customers are getting taken care of.
We call and text, call and text again, and then they get a postcard the third time. So it's not for lack of trying. We do try to reach out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So if you don't, if I mean, it's one of the deals. If we can't get hold, it's not. It's yeah. It's just it sucks. There's no other way around it. So,
Jane, I'm
but
curious about from your vantage point, because Travis and I have talked about AI and the advantage of having AI involved with taking calls and especially off hours. From your position, what have you seen advantage or disadvantage of having this service and technology now being in a place that can offer this?
I didn't like AI a couple of years ago. AI has grown and evolved and come around, and it's a lot better. You can't call a doctor's office, you can't call many places without AI. So as long as you speak slowly, clearly, and give them your name and a phone number, do you have to go into detail about it? No. But at least give us that information so we can get back to you as soon as we can get back to you. If you just leave a phone number, it's going to be a difficult. Um, I like it because, like Travis said, you aren't sitting on hold waiting for a live person. And sometimes the live person is not always any better than your AI.
That's true. Very
Sometimes
true.
the live person, you can't understand the live person. At least I can understand Sarah when she talks. We've had to go rounds with our answering service. The answering service tells information that's not factual. And with AI, they're not getting told anything that isn't factual because it's computer, so that it's only giving the information that we gave it. Whereas sometimes the answering service takes liberties and they're trying to be helpful, and they just, because they do other air serves are individually owned. So what that owner over in Omaha does is going to be much different than what we do. And I don't want the answering service telling them something that is not us. And the answering service was saying, oh, yeah, they can, there's no problem. They can book you. Well, they can't see my schedule. They don't know that I have absolutely, the guys have every appointment booked for the day plus after hours already and are running till 8 o'clock and booked out that day till 8 o'clock. We can't run an AC call in the dark. It's just, it's different when you go into a furnace at dark because your basement's got a light generally, hopefully. ACs, you don't want us taking that off with all those little screws in the middle of the night. That's just not practical. So, and the answering service would be like, oh, we'll just go ahead and schedule you. Okay, but if I have a technician that's up in Missouri Valley and from 8 to 10, and you schedule him to go to Oakland at 10 o'clock, he's not going to be in Oakland by 10 o'clock because we know that time difference is not there. So it's better off if we can have you just leave the message with the AI and we call you back to figure out that time and struggle.
The AI actually has the ability to schedule what I call soft schedule, and we have not done that yet for just the reason she talked about. It's easier for us to call back and schedule based off the information and have it be right than have AI schedule for us and then come back and reschedule. It's a matter of keeping control of the narrative. The thing is when they're talking to customers, it's a matter of getting the information and knowing we're going to get back to them. I mean, if there was a better system, believe me, we'd be all over it. If we thought the answering service was better, we'd be all over it. But yeah, keep in mind, when it's 95 degrees here, the answering service might have 50 other heating and air conditioning companies that are calling in too. And all they are is call takers. So if it's 15 minutes till they can pick up the phone, that's it. The Avoca, it's right now. And so even if you leave that message, we get it right away. And so we can respond faster. And that's why we have that's why we have 4 people now. So we got Charlie, we got Maddie, we got even Samantha on the plumbing side can see that stuff, and then with Jane, we can definitely get back a lot faster than you can otherwise. And it beats the hell out of leaving it on an answering machine, where someone might get back in 2 days. I mean, we know within 10 seconds, if I call right now, 10 seconds after I hang up, we'll have an email that says, hey, Travis Wallstein called blah, 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 blah with that information. And that's the beauty of it, and it's going to get better over time. It'll continue to get better, but it's like any other technology. But at the end of the day, it's about trying to be able to be more timely with servicing and taking care of the customer. It's not because I want to have a bunch of bots answering the phone. You still need people to do the job.
I think this is, I actually brought it up on my show just recently that people thinking AI is going to be taking away people's jobs. I think just the opposite is going on here.
They said that with
Yeah.
computers. They said
Yeah.
that with computers too. And guess what? The whole industry with computers now. So
We added the AI and added two
Yeah.
more gals to the office. So it did not definitely didn't take. It's just now we're able to get to those calls faster and
it,
get people scheduled.
it's increased what I call our CSR capacity, and it's allowed them to do more with their jobs. It does them more with functioning. It allows us to be more timely. It allows us to be other things. One of the things we discovered last year, when Jane was out for her surgery, and we had one person in the office and they were doing it all, we just really were not set up from a CSR perspective, which is probably the most important job. And nothing against all the technicians, but if you're not getting the phones answered, you're not getting the phones answered. I'm going to call it for what it is. And if you're not doing it timely, if you can't remember, or if you forgetful, it doesn't work. So that's why we've invested in it. That's why we've done, if with the roles that we have now, because frankly, we need people that know how to do that, are very customer service oriented, care about the customer, but are also to a position where they can get the job done and do the job well, and understand how to look at a schedule, look at a calendar. Isn't going to take a bunch of crap from a bunch of techs, because sometimes you get a bunch of crap from a bunch of techs. Am I right, Jane? You get crap
Oh
from
yeah,
techs and all?
I get some kickback, and I have to, I've been at this long enough, as one of the gals in the office says, "Can you put on your sassy pants and take care of this issue?" And sometimes I put on my sassy pants and have to,
Yeah.
because they're trying to tell me something, and I'm like, "You can't BS me on this. I've done this a time or two. I know how long things are going to take, and when a customer tells me certain things, and I try to help the new girls understand, you got to ask questions. You got to know, what is that customer trying to get in that long haul? Are they wanting a maintenance? Do they have an underlying problem? Because they call in for a maintenance, but then when you talk to them, well, it's just not running quite cool, or it's got a little bit of a noise, or, those are things we need to know, because that makes a difference on how long I schedule and who I have come do the job. Um, our techs are in different stages of how long they've been technicians. And so if it's a thermostat problem, I have a tech that I want to come for the thermostats, because he's dealt with thermostats for a long, long time. If it's a geo system or a boiler system, there's certain technicians I'm going to send to work on them, because they've had more schooling, more education. And Travis is very proactive on training our technicians. The technicians do training weekly here, but they also go to school and spend time, and he sends them to different trainings across the country, up to South Dakota, out to Wisconsin, out to
Arkansas.
Chicago, Arkansas. He sends them to anything that he feels is a valuable training. He has sent me to tech school with one of the technicians, just so I could learn the Aire Serv standards on what the steps are to diagnose and how to do this. And they thought I was kind of silly for it. And when I went to tech school, some of the technicians and the owners that were in that class were like, "Why are you here? You answer the phones." And I said, "Because the questions I ask are based on what you're teaching me today. And if I know the steps and I know what you're going to follow, I can help my customers much better." And then the technicians and the owners started looking at it differently, because I was asking a lot of questions during that training time. And I'm like, "So why would you schedule it for this time? What kind of things would you need to know as a technician?" And if, based on those questions that I ask, it helps me put notes in there for the technician to know, "Oh, I ran out of the last capacitor. I'm going to need one when I go to that customer's house. So I need to stop back to the shop, because I had 2 calls this morning that took everything I had on my truck." that just is helpful to them by us learning those things. And so since I've done that, one of the other gals has done it too, and probably the other two will probably end up going through some of that training as well, I would imagine.
Have you seen, when you go to any of these training, do you see anyone else in your position there, or
No,
is this kind of unique to what Travis is doing?
no, they are not there. And some of the owners have asked me a lot of questions because of me being there. They're like, well, why would you want to come? And when I explain myself and the value that it has, then they're like, oh, maybe I should send my office staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good to see it from the other perspective, So if you're a tech and you see the CSR, if you're a CSR, see the tech, it makes a huge difference. So sorry about that. I had to go yell at the people. Let's start every loud piece of equipment that I got in the shed while we're doing a friggin' podcast, and we could have moved an hour ago. But piss poor plan and others' fault does constitute a mercy on my fault. So it's like, come on,
Oh,
guys.
I think we've seen several examples today about how you just kind of make time for this, but real world is still going on out there, and you still have things that need to be taken care of, and things that business is advancing throughout the entire thing. So
Yes.
I'm grateful that you make time to do this, and I'm also grateful about we're learning here today, and I think that I would cross my fingers that we can get some other contractors to see this and to see how you're doing things and see how it could benefit them too, because you've talked before, Travis, that you encourage your own technicians and journeymen to hopefully eventually be out on their own, because that benefits everyone. That raises the industry across the board.
Listen, in 20 years, if I'm dead, if there's four guys, if Hayden's one of them, and there's three other guys in Council Bluffs that own their own shop that came through our thing, you know what? Then I've done something to help add to the industry. I do believe in legacy. I believe in, having a solid footprint, if you know what I'm saying, as far as moving forward. As far as that kind of stuff is concerned. And the only way to do that is to, is to do it in your daily schedule, daily routine, if that makes sense. And are we perfect? No. You could come in here. Well, we won't talk about my franchise consultant coming in last week. He did himself no favors with me. So we won't go into that conversation. But we try to. My concern is customers, employees, and family, and I'm not going to put them in a particular order because them three things are that you have to take into account if you're in any business. Make sure your customers taken care of, make sure your employees taken care of, and make sure your family's taken care of. Because if you don't do them three things, you're not going to have a business. All the other stuff's freaking secondary. You know what I'm saying? So that's just part of run a business. So it's it is what it is. So, but that's hopefully my goal. But if all these guys are working for Hayden one day and I'm dropping off dead, and they're drinking a Busch Light up around my urn, I guess I've also done something right there too.
It's okay to think in the retirement stage instead of just completely dropping off dead.
Why do I want to retire? My wife wants to go live in her homeless camper in these what I call homeless retreats. I'm not into that. We've had this discussion. I'm not retiring. So you guys want to go retire, do all your other stuff, friggin' knock yourself out. So, not into cards at this point. Now that could change, but as of right now, it's like, why? Because what would I do? I can only go to Iowa on 7 Saturdays a year. I don't want to be milking sheep like my wife wants to get milking sheep. I've got zero interest in that. I like my acreage, but I don't own enough farm ground to farm. And I'd be broke if I was a farmer. So I can't do them other things. So, I do like breakfast. I have to admit, I could probably eat breakfast every day, but I can go do that now if I want to. So why retire? What was there for me to retire? Go spend more time with my grandkids? I'd go do that too, but I would just drag them to work with me. That's what I would do. So, so put their butts to work. So,
Well, very grateful that Jane, that you made time to come on and be a part of the program today, share a little bit about what it is that you do, and also with your expertise. And I know that I'm just going to speak for Travis. You're doing great work. And,
no, she is. I'd agree with that.
So go ahead, take $20 out of petty cash for your trouble, and
she'll
I
probably
don't
wear
have
some.
access to petty cash.
Yeah, oh yeah, whatever. So, yeah, she'll probably wear some dumb Iowa State shirt or something. That's what she likes to do once in a while, just to poke the bear a little bit. It's okay. At least I don't say Nebraska on it. I'm okay with that. So,
She hasn't gotten any cookies for a while, so
yeah, I got it. Yeah, well, because my wife says I need to lose weight, so my wife tells her don't bring cookies. Well, I don't listen. I don't listen to my wife. I just do things and ask for forgiveness later. So, once you start figuring that out, life's a lot easier.
although he did get some homemade apple pie, but it was the drinkable kind, not
hello. Yeah.
I still got some of that. But
and a little Chex Mix. He likes a little spicy Chex Mix.
well, here's the deal. Number one, here's the deal with Chex Mix. The first thing is there's directions on the box for making Chex Mix, and you got to use the ingredients, because if you don't use the ingredients, it's bland. And then Jane adds some spice to it. I'm okay with add stuff to it, but when you don't add the basic stuff, it's not the same. I don't, it's, I don't know. It's, you think it's something.
I don't cook anything by direction.
Well, but you're a lot closer to somebody else I know. It's like, okay, let's just put a little bit of butter and throw it in the damn oven. And no, it's not.
No. You got to have some good spice in there.
Well, that's the thing too, is that, and I've known this for a long time, that the pre-made Chex Mix that you can buy that's hanging on a post in the grocery store is not homemade Chex Mix.
No, definitely
it's not the same.
Nope.
It is much better when you make it yourself. And I was a big fan when they came out with that, and I thought, oh wow, I can have it anytime I want. And I was like, this just isn't quite as good as what
gotta have
making
a
it yourself.
cayenne pepper in there.
Oh, is that what you use?
A little bit of cayenne, a little bit of hot sauce. I have a little bit of secret stuff, and Hayden's figuring out how to cook some of this stuff now.
And you put nuts in it too, and maybe some pretzels. My wife doesn't like nuts or cashews. Yeah, okay. Well, no, okay, cashews. Mixed nuts, no peanuts. So that's the whole key.
Peanuts.
No peanuts. I don't know. I like it mixed nuts, no peanuts. It's all good. So the salted. Who wants to eat unsalted peanuts? That's terrible. So.
And my kids like bugles in it.
Well, bugles is okay too.
That would be an interesting addition. So I was thinking that we were going to try to figure out how to get Mike Rowe on this show, but now I'm changing everything, and we'll go get Guy Fieri. How about that?
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, I worked with a chef for many years, and I was her assistant cooking and cooking classes, so I have a little background in that cooking class.
Hey. As long as it's Chef Boyardee and I'm not eating bologna or salami, that's Oscar Mayer, I'm open to it. I won't do Brunswiger either, so then yuck. So, yuck.
Well, and on that note, we thank you very much for watching this episode of Circle of Trades. Thank you very much, Jane. And we'll let you start answering all of those emails that have been coming in.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
See you soon.